में अनगिनत वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों का आधार बना। इस दिन को यादगार बनाने के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद, विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग, भारत सरकार द्वारा हर साल 28 फरवरी को राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है। इस दिन पूरे देश में विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संबंधी अनेक कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए जाते हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 एक बार फिर अपनी तमाम गतिविधियों के साथ विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी का उत्सव मनाने के लिए तैयार है। सतत भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत दृष्टिकोण के साथ मनाए जा रहे इस राष्ट्रव्यापी आयोजन में इस बार थीम के अनुरूप गतिविधियों के साथ वैज्ञानिकों, युवा शोधकर्ताओं और विज्ञान संचारकों को उनकी पिछले साल की उपलब्धियों और योगदान के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार पुरस्कार प्रदान किया जाएगा। इस अवसर पर अवसर पुरस्कार प्रदान किए जाएंगे। इसके अलावा इस अवसर पर केंद्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह डीएसटी के फ्लैगशिप कार्यक्रम इंस्पायर का मोबाइल ऐप लॉन्च करेंगे। इसके अलावा इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम बिल्डिंग एआई रेडीनेस अमंग यंग इनोवेटर्स का भी शुभारंभ किया जाएगा। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 नमन करता है उन तमाम वैज्ञानिकों और उनकी उपलब्धियों को जिन्होंने हमें विश्व के विज्ञान समृद्ध राष्ट्रों की श्रेणी में अग्रणी पंक्ति में खड़ा किया है। सम्मान करता है उन वैज्ञानिकों और युवा अनुसंधानकर्ताओं का जो देश की आत्मनिर्भरता को बढ़ाने के साथ ही नए भारत के निर्माण में योगदान कर रहे हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस उत्सव है भारतीय विज्ञान, प्रौद्योगिकी और नवाचार की उपलब्धियों का जश्न मनाने का अवसर है। विश्व स्तर पर राष्ट्र को गौरवान्वित करने वाले भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों को याद करने का अवसर है। समस्त वैज्ञानिक समुदाय की प्रतिभा का अभिनंदन कर वैज्ञानिक विकास की प्रतिबद्धता को दोहराने का। 28 फरवरी 1928 वो दिन जिसने भारतीय विज्ञान को वैश्विक पटल पर एक नई पहचान दिला दी। इसी दिन प्रसिद्ध भारतीय वैज्ञानिक सर चंद्रशेखर वेंकट रामन ने अपनी खोज से कणों की आणविक और परमाणविक संरचना को देखने का नजरिया बदल दिया। उनकी इस खोज को रामन प्रभाव के नाम से जाना जाता है। यही रामन प्रभाव का सिद्धांत पूरी दुनिया में अनगिनत वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों का आधार बना। इस दिन को यादगार बनाने के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद, विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग, भारत सरकार द्वारा हर साल 28 फरवरी को राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है। इस दिन पूरे देश में विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संबंधी अनेक कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए जाते हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 एक बार फिर अपनी तमाम गतिविधियों के साथ विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी का उत्सव मनाने के लिए तैयार है। सतत भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत दृष्टिकोण के साथ मनाए जा रहे इस राष्ट्रव्यापी आयोजन में इस बार थीम के अनुरूप गतिविधियों के साथ वैज्ञानिकों, युवा शोधकर्ताओं, राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार पुरस्कार प्रदान किया जाएगा। इस अवसर पर अवसर पुरस्कार प्रदान किए जाएंगे। इसके अलावा इस अवसर पर केंद्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह डीएसटी के फ्लैगशिप कार्यक्रम इंस्पायर का मोबाइल ऐप लॉन्च करेंगे। इसके अलावा इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम बिल्डिंग एआई रेडीनेस अमंग यंग इनोवेटर्स का भी शुभारंभ किया जाएगा। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 नमन करता है उन तमाम वैज्ञानिकों और उनकी उपलब्धियों को जिन्होंने हमें विश्व के विज्ञान समृद्ध राष्ट्रों की श्रेणी में अग्रणी पंक्ति में खड़ा किया है। सम्मान करता है उन वैज्ञानिकों और युवा अनुसंधानकर्ताओं का जो देश की आत्मनिर्भरता को बढ़ाने के साथ ही नए भारत के निर्माण में योगदान कर रहे हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस उत्सव है भारतीय विज्ञान, प्रौद्योगिकी और नवाचार की उपलब्धियों का जश्न मनाने का। अवसर है विश्व स्तर पर राष्ट्र को गौरवान्वित करने वाले भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों को याद करने का। अवसर है समस्त वैज्ञानिक समुदाय की प्रतिभा का अभिनंदन कर वैज्ञानिक विकास की प्रतिबद्धता को दोहराने का। 28 फरवरी 1928 वो दिन जिसने भारतीय विज्ञान को वैश्विक पटल पर एक नई पहचान दिला दी। इसी दिन प्रसिद्ध भारतीय वैज्ञानिक सर चंद्रशेखर वेंकट रामन ने अपनी खोज से कणों की आणविक और परमाणविक संरचना को देखने का नजरिया बदल दिया। उनकी इस खोज को रामन प्रभाव के नाम से जाना जाता है। यही रामन प्रभाव का सिद्धांत पूरी दुनिया में अनगिनत वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों का आधार बना। इस दिन को यादगार बनाने के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद, विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग, भारत सरकार द्वारा हर साल 28 फरवरी को राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है। इस दिन पूरे देश में विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संबंधी अनेक कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए जाते हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 एक बार फिर अपनी तमाम गतिविधियों के साथ विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी का उत्सव मनाने के लिए तैयार है। सतत भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत दृष्टिकोण के साथ मनाए जा रहे इस राष्ट्रव्यापी आयोजन में इस बार थीम के अनुरूप गतिविधियों के साथ वैज्ञानिकों, युवा शोधकर्ताओं और विज्ञान संचारकों को उनकी पिछले साल की उपलब्धियों और योगदान के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार पुरस्कार प्रदान किया जाएगा। इस अवसर पर अवसर पुरस्कार प्रदान किए जाएंगे। इसके अलावा इस अवसर पर केंद्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह डीएसटी के फ्लैगशिप कार्यक्रम इंस्पायर का मोबाइल ऐप लॉन्च करेंगे। इसके अलावा इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम बिल्डिंग एआई रेडीनेस अमंग यंग इनोवेटर्स का भी शुभारंभ किया जाएगा। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 नमन करता है उन तमाम वैज्ञानिकों और उनकी उपलब्धियों को जिन्होंने हमें विश्व के विज्ञान समृद्ध राष्ट्रों की श्रेणी में अग्रणी पंक्ति में खड़ा किया है। सम्मान करता है उन वैज्ञानिकों और युवा अनुसंधानकर्ताओं का जो देश की आत्मनिर्भरता को बढ़ाने के साथ ही नए भारत के निर्माण में योगदान कर रहे हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस उत्सव है भारतीय विज्ञान, प्रौद्योगिकी और नवाचार की उपलब्धियों का जश्न मनाने का। अवसर है विश्व स्तर पर राष्ट्र को गौरवान्वित करने वाले भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों को याद करने का। अवसर है समस्त वैज्ञानिक समुदाय की प्रतिभा का अभिनंदन कर वैज्ञानिक विकास की प्रतिबद्धता को दोहराने का। 28 फरवरी 1928 वो दिन जिसने भारतीय विज्ञान को वैश्विक पटल पर एक नई पहचान दिला दी। इसी दिन प्रसिद्ध भारतीय वैज्ञानिक सर चंद्रशेखर वेंकट रामन ने अपनी खोज से कणों की आणविक और परमाणविक संरचना को देखने का नजरिया बदल दिया। उनकी इस खोज को रामन प्रभाव के नाम से जाना जाता है। यही रामन प्रभाव का सिद्धांत पूरी दुनिया में अनगिनत वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों का आधार बना। इस दिन को यादगार बनाने के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद, विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग, भारत सरकार द्वारा हर साल 28 फरवरी को राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है। इस दिन पूरे देश में विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संबंधी अनेक कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए जाते हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 एक बार फिर अपनी तमाम गतिविधियों के साथ विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी का उत्सव मनाने के लिए तैयार है। सतत भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत दृष्टिकोण के साथ मनाए जा रहे इस राष्ट्रव्यापी आयोजन में इस बार थीम के अनुरूप गतिविधियों के साथ वैज्ञानिकों, युवा शोधकर्ताओं और विज्ञान संचारकों को उनकी पिछले साल की उपलब्धियों और योगदान के लिए राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार पुरस्कार प्रदान किया जाएगा। इस अवसर पर अवसर पुरस्कार प्रदान किए जाएंगे। इसके अलावा इस अवसर पर केंद्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह डीएसटी के फ्लैगशिप कार्यक्रम इंस्पायर का मोबाइल ऐप लॉन्च करेंगे। इसके अलावा इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम बिल्डिंग एआई रेडीनेस अमंग यंग इनोवेटर्स का भी शुभारंभ किया जाएगा। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 नमन करता है उन तमाम वैज्ञानिकों और उनकी उपलब्धियों को जिन्होंने हमें विश्व के विज्ञान समृद्ध राष्ट्रों की श्रेणी में अग्रणी पंक्ति में खड़ा किया है। सम्मान करता है उन वैज्ञानिकों और युवा अनुसंधानकर्ताओं का जो देश की आत्मनिर्भरता को बढ़ाने के साथ ही नए भारत के निर्माण में योगदान कर रहे हैं। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस उत्सव है भारतीय विज्ञान, प्रौद्योगिकी और नवाचार की उपलब्धियों का जश्न मनाने का अवसर है। विश्व स्तर पर राष्ट्र को गौरवान्वित करने वाले भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों को याद करने का अवसर है। समस्त वैज्ञानिक समुदाय की प्रतिभा का अभिनंदन कर वैज्ञानिक विकास की प्रतिबद्धता को दोहराने का। 28 फरवरी 1928 वो दिन जिसने भारतीय विज्ञान को वैश्विक पटल पर एक नई पहचान दिला दी। इसी दिन प्रसिद्ध भारतीय वैज्ञानिक सर चंद्रशेखर वेंकट रामन ने अपनी खोज से कणों की आणविक और परमाणविक संरचना को देखने का नजरिया बदल दिया। उनकी इस खोज को रामन प्रभाव के नाम से जाना जाता है।
नमस्कार, सुप्रभात देवी और सज्जनों। विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते कार्यक्रम के समापन और राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के पावन अवसर पर मैं मानवर्धन कंठ आप सभी गणमान्यों का हृदय से स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं और राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं, राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग के तत्वावधान में हर साल 28 फरवरी को देश में राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस का उत्सव मनाया जाता है। 28 फरवरी सन 1928 ईस्वी को सर सीवी रामन ने प्रकाश के प्रकीर्णन संबंधी अपनी खोज की घोषणा की थी। इसी खोज के लिए उन्हें 1930 ईस्वी में नोबेल पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया गया था। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस का मूल उद्देश्य विद्यार्थियों को विज्ञान के प्रति आकर्षित व प्रेरित करना है, साथ ही जनसाधारण को विज्ञान एवं वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों के प्रति सजग बनाना है। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 की थीम है दीर्घकालिक भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत अभिगम। नोबेल पुरस्कार विजेता और भारत रत्न सर सीवी रामन का पुण्य स्मरण करते हुए मंचासीन सभी गणमान्यों का मैं हृदय से स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं। हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं भारत सरकार के प्रधान वैज्ञानिक सलाहकार प्रोफेसर के विजय राघवन जी। हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग के सचिव डॉक्टर एस चंद्रशेखर जी। CSIR के महानिदेशक डॉक्टर शेखर सी मांडे जी, पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्रालय के सचिव डॉक्टर M रविचंद्रन जी और ICMR के निदेशक डॉक्टर बलराम भार्गव जी। आप सबसे निवेदन है कि ऐसी ही तालियों की अनुगूंज हॉल में बनाए रखें। एक बार जोरदार तालियां सभी माननीय गणमान्यों के लिए। दीप हमारी सभ्यता और संस्कृति की अलौकिकता का प्रतीक है। प्रत्येक मांगलिक कार्य के पूर्व दीप प्रज्वलन की अनूठी परंपरा सनातन काल से चली आ रही है। मैं सभी गणमान्यों से सविनय निवेदन करूंगा कि दीप की इस रीति को आदर देते हुए दीप प्रज्वलन करते हुए इस कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें, क्योंकि माननीय मंत्री जी थोड़ा विलंब से हम सबके बीच पधारेंगे, लेकिन उनका आशीष सदैव हमारे साथ रहा है और उनकी अनुमति से ही हम इस कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करने वाले हैं। माननीय गणमान्य, आप सबसे निवेदन है मांगलिक कार्य की शुरुआत की जाए। तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, असतो मा सद्गमय, मृत्योर्मा मृतम गमय। आप सभी गणमान्यों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब मैं राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार परिषद के प्रमुख और सलाहकार डॉक्टर प्रवीण अरोड़ा जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे कृपया स्वागत भाषण प्रस्तुत कर हम सबको कृतार्थ करें। आदरणीय डॉक्टर प्रवीण अरोड़ा जी, और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
So, Namaskar and very good morning. Honorable Minister of Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, Dr. K. Vijay Raghavan ji, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, Dr. Shrivari Chandrasekhar ji, Secretary DST, Dr. Shekhar Mande ji, Secretary DSIR and DG CSIR, Dr. M. Ravichandran ji, Secretary Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. Balram Bhargava ji, Secretary Department of Health Research, Dr. Anurag Agarwal ji, National Science Day Speaker and Director IGIB, my learned colleagues from DST, DBT, Earth Sciences, DSIR, CSIR, Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, Vigyan Prasar. The central attraction of this event, awardees of NSD and their families, media persons, ladies and gentlemen. I really feel honored and privileged to get an opportunity to welcome you all on National Science Day 2022. This is indeed a tribute to the legendary Professor C.V. Raman, a champion of Indian scientific excellence. We celebrate the day with a theme dedicated to the nation, integrated approach in S&T for sustainable future. Government of India designated 28th February as National Science Day in 1986. On this day, Sir C.V. Raman announced the discovery of the Raman effect, for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1930. To commemorate this historic and memorable day, theme-based science communication activities are also carried out all over the country. It's indeed a proud and a unique moment for us as National Science Day this year also marks the culmination of National Science Week on the theme Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate, that is, science is revered everywhere. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate you all on this historic first-time observance of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav by the nation. On this occasion, we recall the immortal heroes of science who united us and helped us become worldwide connected and renowned in the field of science. This, in turn, immensely enhanced the spirit of our independence movement and instilled a sense of self-reliance and self-sufficiency. I extend my warm greetings to you all. I am delighted on continuation of this memorable legacy since 1987, when NCSTC DST conceptualized and initiated the celebrations of the NSD function. The mandate of the NCSTC DST has aided us in achieving the goal of instilling a scientific temper among the masses as enshrined in the Indian Constitution. In fact, NCSTC DST builds on the tradition by establishing creative and cross-disciplinary processes, mechanisms, field models, platforms, and research efforts in science communication and popularization since then. I am indebted to Honorable Minister, Sir, and express my sincere thanks for his acceptance to grace this function today and confer the awards upon the selected awardees. I am sure the NSD theme dedicated to the nation by your kind self and your message today shall go a long way to raise public awareness, understanding, and scientific thinking for India to become future-ready and sustainable with integrated approach and applications of science and technology. Integration in S&T approach will also impart Gati Shakti in enhancing and sustaining the high growth of the economy, crucial for making India Atmanirbhar over the long run. It is our immense pleasure today to have with us Dr. Anurag Agarwal, the National Science Day speaker, on the NSD theme, Integrated Approach in S&T for Sustainable Future. We look forward to you, sir, for significant insights from your address towards sustainable future and benefits to the country. My sincere gratitude is also due to our Secretary, Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, sir, known for his scientific excellence and dedication to the cause of science. We are celebrating the event under his profound guidance, vision, and leadership, encouragement, and a stimulating environment. I would like to congratulate here all the awardees and extend a warm welcome to them from the core of my heart. I would also take the opportunity to welcome other esteemed guests who have come here despite their busy schedule. I'm equally thankful to varied stakeholders from different parts of the country for being with us for this historic event. I am delighted to have my colleague from Vigyan Prasar, Dr. Nakul Parashar, Director Vigyan Prasar, and his team joining us with their excellent cooperation and support. And that's how we are here. We are enthused and able to celebrate this mega event. Happy Science Day. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर प्रवीण अरोरा जी। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस उत्सव है विज्ञान, प्रौद्योगिकी एवं नवाचार में देश की समृद्ध विरासत को सहेजने का। इस वैज्ञानिक विरासत को समादर देने के लिए अब मैं निवेदन करता हूं विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विभाग के सचिव डॉक्टर एस चंद्रशेखर जी से कि वे अपने मूल्यवान विचारों से हम सबको कृतार्थ करें, और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
Greetings to all of you on our festival. Also, I would like to greet all the friends who are joining live with us today and celebrating this festival of us. I also would like to welcome Honorable Minister who will be joining us very soon, greetings to all the friends on the dais, greetings to Principal Scientific Advisor. It's a proud moment for all of us to be part of this important event while we are celebrating India's Science Day. Science, technology, and innovation are essential pillars, and we are proud that we are part of these pillars. Now, at this momentous 75th year, it's the time not only to do a introspection, but also how we are going to plan our future. And this 1 week has given us ample time to debate among all of us to see what is the future of Indian science and technology and how we are going to march towards the 100th year. We know the trajectory of Indian science has been outstanding, and in the last several years, our global rankings have gone up, including in the publications, in patents, in commercialization, number of unicorn companies, and all this has been because of the science and technology interventions. Our government has a goal to further accelerate the pace of discovery, diffusion, and delivery of science-led solutions. The theme for National Science Day 22, as we all know, has been chosen as integrated approach in science and technology for sustainable future. While we are looking for a sustainable future, I think this integrated approach of taking all of us and travel together as one team make this happen. The theme is going to guide us to meet several global and national challenges with this spirit. Ministry of Science and Technology and Earth Sciences cover a very large canvas of R&D from deep ocean to mysteries of universe. Our range encompasses grassroots innovations to top class of scientists. Our activities impact right from a farmer in a remote corner of the country to sophisticated industries such as space. In order to cater such a large canvas of stakeholders, we need to make adequate and sustained investments in scientific research, innovation, and technology development and their effective outreach, which we are doing effectively. This shall build strong comparative advantages which can be leveraged to focus on sectors such as health sector, business, professional services, agriculture, and other things. Science and technology has a critical role to play in creating a roadmap to Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is ready for a sustainable future. India as a nation had to rise above the recent unprecedented crisis caused by the pandemic. While the war between in the European part is really troubling all of us, hopefully we overcome a man-created pandemic very soon. Development and deployment of indigenous vaccines for COVID has been a hallmark of Indian science and technology contributions. To realize the dream of a sustainable and inclusive growth, it's imperative to make sustained efforts in science popularization, which Vigyan Prasar has been doing very, very effectively. I also congratulate all the winners of various competitions our ministry has been doing. Empowering youth is one important activity our ministry is doing, and I'm glad that many youth are participating in this important event. For our sustainable future, all scientific ministries must work together to instill, nurture, and unleash the scientific temper. Our Honorable Minister has been spearheading the unity of all the science secretaries to make sure that we all work what we want to achieve. This will be a true testament to our dedication to Sir C.V. Raman's spirit of scientific temperament he has inculcated in all of us. This reinforces Vigyan's status as Sarvatra Pujyate. Once again, I invite all of you for this celebration. Thank you. Jai Hind.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय डॉक्टर एस चंद्रशेखर जी। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस एक अवसर है भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों की उन उपलब्धियों को स्मरण करने का जिन्होंने विश्व स्तर पर राष्ट्र को गौरवान्वित किया। आदरणीय डॉक्टर शेखर मांडी जी, मैं आपसे विनम्र अनुरोध करूंगा कि इस अवसर पर आकर अपने उद्बोधन से हम सबको अनुग्रहित करें, और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करूंगा।
धन्यवाद मान्यवर्धन जी। डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी, भारत सरकार के विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी मंत्री। मंच पर उपस्थित प्रोफेसर विजय राघवन जी, भारत सरकार के प्रमुख वैज्ञानिक सलाहकार। मंचासीन मेरे सभी वरिष्ठ अधिकारी भारत सरकार के। डॉक्टर अनुराग अग्रवाल, आज के मुख्य वक्ता इस कार्यक्रम के, और यहाँ उपस्थित सभी मान्यवर। जैसे कि हम लोग हर साल विज्ञान दिवस मनाते हैं 28 फरवरी को, आपको बताया गया कि इसको सीवी रमन की जो एक नई खोज थी, उन्होंने इसी दिन 1928 में इसकी घोषणा की थी अपनी खोज के बारे में, और इसे हम लोग आजकल सीवी रामन इफेक्ट करके इसे जानते हैं। मुझे कहानी याद आ रही है 1930 की, जब सीवी रामन साहब नोबेल पुरस्कार प्राप्त करने के लिए एक समारोह गए थे, और उस वक्त किसी ने आके सीवी रमन साहब के कान में कहा कि आपके लिए ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं, और आपके एक दोस्त है प्रमुख जो भारत में है, उन्होंने भी आपको शुभकामनाएं भेजी है, और इंसिडेंटली आजकल आपके दोस्त हमारे जेल में हैं। और उस वक्त सीवी रमन साहब को याद आया, उन्होंने पीछे मुड़ के देखा जहाँ बैठे हुए थे इस समारोह में, कि उनके पीछे में ब्रिटेन का यूनियन जैक लगा था, भारत का तिरंगा नहीं लगा था। और उस वक्त सीवी रमन अपने आप को रोक नहीं पाए और उनके आंखों से आंसू आने लगे। ये कहानी मुझे इसलिए याद आ रही है कि जो कि आज हम 75 वर्ष मना रहे हैं हमारे आज़ादी के, हम लोग कई अक्सर बार भूल जाते हैं कि आज़ादी के संग्राम में वैज्ञानिकों की भी एक बहुत प्रमुख भूमिका रही है। और काफ़ी सारे वैज्ञानिक जो थे आज़ाद के पूर्व, उन्होंने आज़ाद के संग्राम में बहुत सक्रिय भाग लिया था। हमारे प्रमुख वैज्ञानिक जो है उस काल के, उन्होंने आज़ादी के संग्राम में बहुत सक्रियता से भाग लिया था। और ये भी हम लोग इसलिए मानते हैं कि वैज्ञानिकों की भी एक बहुत अच्छी भूमिका रही है हमारे संग्राम में। और जैसे कि मेरे सहभागी डॉक्टर चंद्रशेखर ने आपने बताया कि पिछले 75 वर्षों में हमने जो भारत की प्रगति देखी है, इसमें विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिक अनुसंधान की एक बहुत प्रमुख और अहम भूमिका रह चुकी है। और आज लोग हम लोग यहाँ पर है, और आने वाले भविष्यकाल की ओर हम लोग जब देखते हैं, तो इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं कि इसमें विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी अनुसंधान की एक बहुत प्रमुख भूमिका रहेगी। और इसलिए इस वर्ष की जो थीम है, इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, इसको चुना गया था कि इस वर्ष हम लोग साइंस डे को इस थीम के भीतर इसको मनाएंगे। आप सभी को पुनः विज्ञान दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। जो आज हमारे साथ काफ़ी जुड़े हुए लोग, मैं मानता हूँ कि जो वेब पे भी जुड़े हुए युवा वैज्ञानिक हैं, उनसे भी आह्वान करते हुए कि आने वाले समय के लिए हम लोग को जो तैयार होना चाहिए, उसमें विज्ञान और अनुसंधान से जुड़कर हम आने वाली समस्याओं को भी हल करने में जुड़े रहेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद एवं आभार आदरणीय डॉक्टर शेखर सी मांडे जी। अब मैं आग्रह करता हूं पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्रालय के सचिव डॉक्टर एम रविचंद्रन जी से कि इस पुनीत अवसर पर अपने उद्बोधन से हम सबको कृतार्थ करें, और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Principal Scientific Advisor Professor Vigyan, DGCSIR Segar Mande, DST Secretary Dr. Chandrasekhar, DG ICMR Dr. Balram Bhargava, Professor Anurag Agarwal, colleagues and friends from various ministries, media, very good morning to all of you. It is indeed, today we have joined together for two programs. Of course, one is National Science Day we are celebrating, and the second one is, of course, Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate. These are the two things amalgamated today. The first one, when we talk about National Science Day, the theme is, as everybody mentioned, it is integrating science and technology for sustainable future. I think it is very imperative we need to have the science has to be amalgamated, all the science discipline has to be work together. It is interdisciplinary is very important. That's what is stressing this particular year's theme. As you all know that initially science started with the science, then technology, then later on engineering, then mathematics, STEM has been, importance has been stressed, and later on now it has been also started. Arts also very important for the creativity. So it has STEM becomes STEAM, and also now medicine also important. Then it has become STEM, very strong STEAM. That means double M is been used. I think this shows that the science is not one particular discipline or one area. We need to have an integrated way we have to do it. Considering this aspect, the Government of India has started now one of our aspect, that is a deep ocean mission. I think this mission is not only for earth science. I think this is a collaborative mission for integrating all the science ministries, ISRO, DST, DRDO, DAE, CSIR, and DBT, all joined together. We are going to harness the oceans in sustainable way for the future. So this is a unique year for when we start this integrating science and technology for a sustainable future. So this program is very unique in that aspect. I think we need to provoke our young minds to think differently than what we are usually thinking, especially in harnessing the Mother Earth, including the ocean and other things in sustainable way. And also we have to stress upon the interdisciplinary science and technology for the future. I think from school and colleges, we need to focus on themes rather than branches of science. Instead of looking at physics, chemistry, or biology, I think it is important to explore the world around them by looking at energy and forces, materials, and living things, as well as environmental awareness and care. I think that is a direction we need to work on it. Coming back to Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate is a major success in the last 1 week. We are able to communicate science and propagate science to all the community, especially students and other people. I think it is not enough. This 1 week is not enough. We have to constantly, we have to provoke the science to the younger community. And also mostly we are able to propagate science and technology to the city. I think we need to go for much more to the villages where more ideas can be generated. We need to have more ideas from youngsters. For that, we need to have a local language to be the important. There are many books, of course, science books are not available in the local language. I think we have to utilize maybe our senior scientists, maybe those who have retired or professors. We can use their services to translate the science to basic, simple language so that can be used for the villages and other people to provoke more and more science thinking process. And also we have now started with the 17 books, 17-day, 75 years celebration. This 75 years of books and other things, I think we need to translate to maybe the local language, and we have to motivate. And each center has to go for at least 75 villages so that they can teach some of the science, thinking in science process, so that we can bring more and more people in this science stream. I think by 2047, we should not celebrate only this particular day as a National Science Foundation Day, that is 28th February, but also many other days we need to celebrate. For that, more and more Indian science, actually Indian need to do a great science so that we get the recognition and we celebrate more and more days. One of the 5 pillars of the Azad Ka Amrit Mahotsav is ideas. I think we need to nurture as well as need to get and provoke more and more ideas from youngsters and everywhere so that we can try to implement as much as possible for the benefit of the society and the country. Jai Vigyan, Jai Vigyan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind and inspiring words. कोविड-19 महामारी की चुनौतियों से निपटने में हमारे देश के वैज्ञानिकों एवं विभिन्न वैज्ञानिक संस्थानों ने अभूतपूर्व योगदान दिया है। अब मैं आईसीएमआर के महानिदेशक डॉक्टर बलराम भार्गव जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे अपने उद्बोधन से हम सबको प्रेरित करें और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
Honorable Principal Scientific Advisor, Dr. Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate, dignitaries on the dais, illuminaries in the audience, awardees, press, media, and all the people who have joined through virtual media. Welcome to this National Science Day. And as we celebrate this National Science Day, I would like to reflect on the 75 years of our independence and what has been our successes. We have been successful in IT. We have been successful in mobiles. Is that all? No. We have been successful in cricket and Bollywood in these 75 years. As we saw yesterday, a clean sweep in cricket, and Bollywood is taking care of the whole, is now sweeping the entire world. But that's not all. What are the major scientific achievements that have happened in these 75 years? I think the important ones I mentioned: IT, mobile, space, and nuclear. We have established to be a nuclear superpower. We have established ourselves as a space superpower. What else? Well, we have looked at, our generation in the dais has seen the Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan movement. We have seen the PL 480. We have seen the Colombo plan. We have seen Miss One Meal by our Prime Minister then, Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. And we have seen the Green Revolution. We were importing grains from the US, from Australia, and we had those red wheat at that point in time, which was not the best, and I think much of it was in the silos in the erstwhile DST building that it was stored and then distributed to different parts of the country. And then we saw the Green Revolution, and now we are exporting grains to many parts of the world. So that is a huge, huge achievement that has happened. Following the Green Revolution, we have seen the White Revolution. We have seen the Blue Revolution. We have seen the genetic revolution that has happened in India. So it's not just IT, mobile, cricket, Bollywood, but it is space, nuclear, Green Revolution, White Revolution. Our scientifically developed defense forces have been guarding our nations for these 75 years. And that is, again, because of science, because of our organizations like DRDO and other organizations who have helped nurture these forces with the scientific inputs. What about anything else? Well, India has now developed to be the pharmacy of the world. 60% of the generic medicines used outside of India are of Indian origin. We have been exporting generic medicines to many parts of the world and have taken the lead on that. In terms of health, what has happened? In terms of health, we have become the second destination for health tourism in the world, because 1 out of 5 nurses and 1 out of 6 doctors in the world are of Indian origin. So that is our contribution, that is our science contribution, that is our education contribution for the world, which has changed the way the world perceives India. We have seen how we had the successful management of the pandemic in these 2 years, and India is now deemed and labeled as a vaccine superpower. So the contributions of Indian science have been immense in these last 75 years, right from IT, mobile, cricket, Bollywood, space, nuclear, health, pharmacy, and the Green Revolution, the White Revolution, the Blue Revolution, and genetic engineering, the vaccine superpower. We have really established that India can lead the world in science. More importantly, we have to realize that this science that has been nurtured in these last 75 years has been with only 0.6% of the GDP being spent on science. Our thinking has been frugal, our thinking has been low cost, our thinking has been to manage with little bit, and therefore we have been innovative, and I think that needs to be nurtured, but our budget also needs to be increased clearly for science so that we could be equal to the top scientific nations in the world in every which way. I think the important message that has to happen in this Science Day and this 75 years of our independence is that we have to focus on indigenous development. We have to focus on translational development. We have to focus on integrated development and all forces working together, how all the science agencies and the health agencies and a whole of government approach that we had for this COVID pandemic really is an example that we need to follow with all the science agencies in the future if we are to lead the world in science in every which way. One little point I wanted to emphasize was, and I think my predecessor has already spoken on, the importance of social sciences. I think for a full rounded development, social sciences will have to be integrated in the STEM sciences as well, because of the fact that that gives a full rounded development. And if you look at the school curriculum that we had in the earlier days, that also needs to be nurtured in every which way, whether it be music, whether it be art, whether it be filmmaking, whether it be playing chess, whether it be Latin or Sanskrit, whether it be, those things have to be nurtured because they instill a sense of discipline in the child from the school curriculum. And that holds the child in good for decades to come, so that the full rounded development of social as well as scientific thinking is taken into account, thinking of the human being as an individual, and that helps tremendously. So I think with these words, I wish a huge success to this Science Day, and also congratulate India on its 75th years of independence. And I'm sure with the new generation thinking out of the box and the way innovation is being promoted in this nation, we are going to see a much, much brighter future, and Indian science will be leading the world. Jai Hind.
बहुत बहुत आभार आदरणीय डॉक्टर बलराम भार्गव जी। विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते कार्यक्रम को सहयोग मिला है डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एटॉमिक एनर्जी यानी डीएई, डिफेंस रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन यानी डीआरडीओ और डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ स्पेस यानी डीयूएस से। इसी संदर्भ में हमें डीएई सचिव आदरणीय डॉक्टर के.एन. व्यास जी, डीआरडीओ अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर सतीश रेड्डी जी एवं इसरो चेयरमैन डॉक्टर एस. सोमनाथ जी का प्री रिकॉर्डेड मैसेजेस मिले हैं। आइए सुनते हैं उनके शुभ संदेश।
Honorable Minister of State Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Professor Vijay, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, Secretaries from various ministries and departments. It's my privilege to address this august gathering on the eve of the valedictory function of Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate, the Science Mega Expo conducted for last 1 week across the entire country at 75 prominent locations as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. It's very important to showcase the achievements in science and technology and contributions of Indian scientists to the development of the country. I'm sure it will motivate the young outlets to find innovative solutions to many social problems, bringing out such glories of achievements to the current generation and documenting them in various forms such as films, books, etc. to inspire the next generation, which was one of the highlights of this program. Department of Science and Technology through Vigyan Prasar has achieved this, the great wonderful feat with the support of various science and technology ministries and departments. I'm really happy and proud that the Department of Space had a very close and seamless interaction with Vigyan Prasad and Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to organize these events at identified locations. ISRO has deployed exhibits and many senior scientists delivered lectures at identified locations during the expo. The Space on Wheels was a theme-based mobile exhibition bus showcasing ISRO's programs and achievements, which was a center of attraction in all the locations covered at 8 states. It is noted that the response from the students was really exemplary and they were so much enthused to see many of these. I wholeheartedly congratulate the organizers, speakers and event managers for the mammoth effort put in throughout this program for successfully rolling out this mega national event in the 75th year of independence. Jai Hind.
Namaskar. My best wishes to the entire scientific fraternity, the academicians, and most importantly, the students of India on the occasion of National Science Day. Again, the trend has started where lots of interest is getting generated in the science. This is very important, particularly on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of independence. We are showcasing the capabilities of this country across the entire country in various cities, what all we have achieved in this. And on that occasion, we are also promoting that we should do a lot into the sciences. And so this country has to grow both in science and technology in a big way. Technological achievements are being done by this nation, but that needs feed from the sciences. So that is the most important thing, and all of us have to look into this particular point and encourage the young community, youngsters in this country to enter into the science stream a lot and graduate slowly from there. And the country, by 2047, we should become a leading nation in the science and technology both. That is what our wish should be, and I am sure that we will all be able to, you will all be able to take it forward and make this nation a great nation in science and technology. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Namaskar. Respected Dr. Jitendra Singh Sir, Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, respected secretaries of different departments who are participating in this program, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a matter of great pride that Department of Atomic Energy could participate in such a mega event in which all the departments associated with science and technology were given a chance to showcase the advancement carried out during last 75 years. The theme Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate very appropriately describes efforts put in by all of us in the field of science and technology, which shows perseverance, hard work and honesty of purpose towards variety of new developments pursued after achieving independence. DAE, which had a good fortune in its formative years to be led by giants like Dr. Bhavan and Dr. Sarabhai, has contributed in indigenization of different technologies. As a part of spin-offs, DAE has also contributed towards societal needs of the people of India. I am thankful to all the visitors, namely students, academia and members of the public who have taken time out and visited different stalls and tried to understand the advancements in the field of science and technology. I am sure that the visit by the young students would encourage them to pursue the field of science with greater vigor, and when India completes 100 years of independence, the efforts by them would help India to shine even brighter by 2047. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Jitendra Singh Sir and Professor Vigyan Sir who have guided the activities as a part of this great science festival. Thank you very much and Jai Hind.
अब सभी गणमान्यों के शुभ संदेशों के प्रति हम आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस 2022 की थीम है दीर्घकालिक भविष्य के लिए विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी में एकीकृत अभिगम, इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच इन साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी फॉर सस्टेनेबल फ्यूचर। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस व्याख्यान के लिए अब मैं CSIR IGIB के निदेशक प्रोफेसर अनुराग अग्रवाल जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे अपने व्याख्यान से हमें अनुग्रहित करें और आप सब से तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
Thank you very much. Professor Vigyan Sarvatra, Principal Scientific Advisor, Secretaries representing Science and Health, distinguished colleagues in the audience, awardees, colleagues, young people who might be watching online. It's a great pleasure to stand here in front of you today to talk on a topic that's very dear to my heart, about integration of sciences towards a higher purpose. I am really pleased that Professor Bhargav, towards the end, emphasized a very important part I will make multiple times today, that of the importance of social sciences. So when we start talking about integrated approaches in science and technology for a sustainable future, we have to consider what do we mean by science. To me, amongst many definitions that exist, science is about knowledge and understanding of the natural and the social world. Now, so by this definition, automatically humanities is a science. And while through the course of my talk I may distinguish between science and humanities, I wanted to be very clear that this definition of science already encompasses society. What then is technology? Technology is the application of such knowledge for practical aims. Aims of whom? Aims of society. What is then society? A set of people with common aims, ambitions, culture. There might be some differences, but fundamentally most of us simply want a better future. The Sustainable Developmental Goals articulated by the United Nations, to which India subscribes, came from a meeting in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where the idea was, what goal should we have towards the future that we want? The future that we want is the future that we'll be happy with, the future we like to sustain. It can't be just one thing. Today I might speak more about health, the only thing I know well. But amongst multiple goals, all must move in concert because none can exist independent of the other. But when we speak about future, I'm always reminded of this quote I first heard from a very distinguished teacher. I cannot use the word colleague for Professor Srinath Reddy, who spoke about this quote from Paul Valery. As you row a boat, you're always looking backwards but moving forwards. That is exactly what it is when we speak about science for sustainable futures. We can only take inspiration and understanding from the past because we have not seen what the future will hold. And looking back towards what worked, what did not work, is a very critical part of any integrated planning for the future. So when we look at the past, we see one very obvious challenge. And that challenge I take from this cartoon from SKCD. Those of you who haven't gone to this website should. It's a wonderful place for sarcasm with a lot of important grains of truth about science. And what you see is that scientific disciplines, which necessarily exist in silos, are built for education because of a common way of teaching, but also lead to competition, lead to feeling by some areas they're better than the other. And you will notice that when we talk about purity of science, you have bickerings between physicists, chemists, biologists, and of course mathematicians to one complete side, not even bothering to bicker on these topics. The area I come from, medical sciences, is not of course there in this cartoon, but you can see sociology and psychology is on one side. Medicine being half art, half science, and I see very distinguished practitioners in front of me right now, is an amalgamation of multiple things. And having practiced medicine to start my career with, moving towards sciences, of late, moving towards, I guess, intersection humanities, I've seen that medicine in itself contained all the integration one wanted. It was only whether we chose to look at it. On the other side, we have these words interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. All of them are nice words. In fact, I would be one of the people to strongly argue that disciplines are required for education. When you want to train people to have strong foundations in sciences, you need to have strong departments understanding the depth of that particular science. You can't make everything transdisciplinary. But when you want to solve problems, problems don't break down themselves like saying, I need one mathematician, one physicist, and so on. You need people working together. By the nature of things, when people work together, the boundaries become blurred. People get trained. These people no longer belong to the original disciplines. They are the people who are a new discipline themselves. That's a transdisciplinary. It doesn't mean that education has to change, that every time disciplines blur, you create a new field. But you realize that there is one part which is strong foundations of science, education, integrated at that level using multidisciplinary approaches. And then there is a part which is solutions and policy and working on problems, encourage people to be transdisciplinary and come together. So how does one get people to integrate? To my mind, there are two important ways. One is a common vision. Ultimately, science people who love science for science really read only one thing. They read all kinds of things. That shared love is different aspects of exactly the same knowledge. Another could be purpose-driven people. They all have exactly the same purpose. And this common vision will bring them together. And this is nice. This is lovely when it works. But the other more human way of bringing people together is mutual need and mutual benefit. It could be something as simple as synergy. A biologist really has a biological problem but comes across a thing that he cannot solve because he is not trained for it. Finds a physicist, the two work together. Finds a mathematician, they do some modeling. And by need, they come together. And the other could be something as simple as public and private. The public sector, the private sector have their own strengths, their own weaknesses. Sometimes they can complement each other and come together. Academia industry is the same way. Academia invests in people who want to dig deeper into a particular problem. They might keep digging deeper and deeper even until diminishing returns come, that you might spend 10 years more for that last 10%. While in industry, you may want to move on from a problem to problem based on opportunity. But you will need those people for that last 10% expertise coming out from academia. So you need sets of people with common motivations, needs, benefits, all coming together for an integrated vision. And I was wondering what I would talk about today when I was making these slides. I thought of COVID-19 as a wonderful topic, and all the luminaries on the dais are a great example of how science and health in India integrated to give us one of the best responses in the world. But then I thought I wouldn't. I would speak instead on a topic dear to my heart, which is digital health. And when I speak about it, I use Paul Saunier's definition, which encompasses genomics, which encompasses the idea that humans themselves, by the virtue of a modifiable, writable, editable genetic code, are themselves digital animals now. I thought I would speak about the point that it has all the aspects for people coming together that one could want. If you want to look at economy, digital health is amongst the highest growth components. If you want to look at societal value, I think there is no doubt. During the time of COVID, we realized the importance of telemedicine, apps, a well-integrated data ecosystem. Strategic value, its position for very rapid growth. It's of security, cyber security, all these things are critical. It is by nature transdisciplinary. Even the word digital health already has two very distinct components. Health, as I said earlier, in itself is interdisciplinary. And it's interministerial in policy and governance. Which single ministry can control digital health? You need health because there is health. You will need telecom. You will need IT. You will need hardcore science and technology to develop the sciences to feed into these other things. You will need academia. You will need those people who invested their life on the last 10% expertise to dig really deep into the topic. You will need industry to create rapid products, fail fast, get back. So you will have people who would fail never, just keep on working at it. And people from industry who would say, fail fast, get on with it. And you would need investments into digital public goods, where the government creates things for free so people can leverage it to build cheap tools. It will bring back the affordability, what Dr. Bhargav talked about. You will need programs like one that he created at AIIMS in 2007, the biodesign program. You would need all those things, including private investment and new governance. Recently, we heard news about a major conglomerate with well-known Geo buying Strand Genomics. You are seeing big conglomerates moving into health now, particularly digital health with my definition from Sonia. This area is one whose time has come. But now coming to the sociological aspect of it, if all that I'm saying is true, won't soon digital become a determinant of health? To some degree, during COVID-19, people who did not have digital access, not everybody does. India has done very, very well. We are a digitally advanced nation, far beyond our LMIC status. But there are people who don't have access. If health will be so profoundly influenced by digital, then digital will become a determinant of health. Once digital becomes a determinant of health, investments into digital education, digital access, digital literacy will become critical. This integration again then is beyond the sciences. It is all the way deep into policy. And this is something for those of you who are interested, is part of a special issue in The Lancet that I had the privilege of co-chairing recently. What we realized is that enfranchised communities and public participation are crucial for citizens to co-design digital health. In fact, you need citizen scientists, a topic I will come back to again when I try to explain the challenges that I foresee. You would need young people to passionately become part of this vision. Otherwise, this field would simply not move forward. And young people growing up in a digital world are the ones whose entire futures depend on this vision that we articulate, for which we integrate. India has done phenomenally well in our way of thinking about digital health. We have the Ayushman Bharat digital mission. You can see the National Digital Health Mission ecosystem already put citizens and their data at the center. The Honorable Prime Minister announced a National Health ID, one of the most ambitious programs in the world by which people can access, control, and use their data, in which this data could be aggregated and made available to people trying to develop that understanding, the insights, the tools. And this vision must succeed if India is to become one of the most powerful nations in this area as well. So we have all the bits and pieces. And when I was looking at the program, I noticed that we will also be talking about later on awards for the collaboration with Intel and DST for artificial intelligence. And I thought to myself that perhaps one of the challenges I would bring out in today's talk would be that any solution to work in India must encompass the situation on the top and the situation on the bottom. It must encompass an area where the working is still analog. Lots of patients are crowding doctors. Things are still being written on paper. At most, what you can temporarily expect is digitization, all the way to corporate hospitals, who are also catering to Indians, where everything is digital from the very beginning, and you would have what is called digitalization. So digitization to digitalization is a natural spectrum that you see in India. But on the top, the overarching vision of the government is digital transformation. In digital transformation, the core pieces, India stack, your ID, your payments, your integrated systems are already in place. Now on top of it, everything else would come together to create high-value services, convenience for people. And because massive amounts of data would flow through the system, beyond what a human being can naturally see, Many doctors would be using these systems who don't really understand data science, would not come from that background. A lot of talk comes on artificial intelligence, the topic for which we will get some awards. And I would come back to say again that it has huge promise. But I would also say it has a very long way to go, with multi-stakeholder collaboration being absolutely essential for successful delivery. It is a classic example in line of today's talk about integration and the participation of various sectors and types of people. I'll digress a little bit to make my point. Why I'll digress to make my point is to show you what is possible and what does not seem to be possible at this time. Nothing is impossible in the long run. It requires patience and the right collaborations. Some of you may have seen this game, Jeopardy. A typical question in Jeopardy, for which you get a certain amount of points, or in this case, dollars. A question can be something like, the name of this hat is elementary, my dear contestant. It's super difficult for some, super easy for some. Who is it super easy for? A person who can interpret this statement, notice the phrase, elementary, my dear Watson, think of Sherlock Holmes, have read Sherlock Holmes well enough to know he wore a hat, and know the name of the hat was Dear Stalker. For that person, it's very easy. Try interpreting this question by simple English. Very tough. When my distinguished doctor colleagues in the audience, Professor Bhargav, listen to patients talk about their symptoms, sometimes the language can be like this. If you want AI to understand anything, it may know all the answers if the question is asked correctly. Where is the guarantee the question will be asked in a format that a computer would understand? So how did IBM Watson, which became famous for winning this game of Jeopardy, address this problem? They invested in multiple AIs with massive relevant source data. An entire stream of AIs only worked for flexibility in interpreting the questions. That's all they did. Entire deep learning, 50% of AI Watson program was how to build the AIs to interpret questions. Then to each questions, they could find good matching answers. They would only answer if you found a question with a high probability and an answer with a high probability, else you choose not to answer. But doctors don't have that luxury, it's not a game. You can't choose to answer or not to answer, you have to answer something or a person in front of you has a problem. So winning a game is different, but the path to winning in life, for real problems and real solutions of people is immensely more complex. This complexity is not captured in this graph, where IBM Watson wins $77,000 compared to the two best ever participants in history of Jeopardy who were human at $24,000, $21,000 each. Computers will not be 3 to 4 times as good as doctors anytime soon. In fact, when IBM Watson launched the program for oncology, that was called Watson for Oncology, they realized very soon some problems. Jeopardy has clear answers for questions. Jeopardy only needs existing data. In biomedicine, there may be no or many right answers. The answers may be different for questions in different contexts. The necessary data may simply not exist, be wrong, or conflicting. You see this all the time. So how then would we build a new ecosystem in which all these things get taken care of? And before I say how we will take care of it, let me point out one more thing. The challenges of being wrong. A colleague once told me the person who cares most about your health is the person who pays for it. In that sense, insurance companies are your best friends, not doctors. The insurance companies are your best friends because they are the ones who have to pay if you get sicker. So in America, they have an algorithm. It's built in such a way that if it thinks you're getting sicker, they would advance your care so you don't end up in an ICU and cost the insurance company huge amounts of money. And this algorithm was used all over America. When Obermeyer analyzed the data, they found that to have the same score on the algorithm that gives you a higher level of care before you get sicker, black people have to have more chronic active medical conditions than whites. Why is that? Certainly a computer does not care about skin color. That we can be sure of. And you can be almost certain no programmer would program this into the system. Discriminate against that person based on their skin color. How would they know? The answer turned out to be very simple. How do you know somebody gets sicker? Somebody gets sicker when they start visiting doctors. Are people equally sick when they decide to visit a doctor? No. Rich people will visit doctors far sooner than a sick person, than a poor person would. If you use healthcare utilization data as an index of determinant of health, you will always discriminate against the people who can't utilize or access healthcare. As we go forward towards the solutions for India, I want you to keep this at the back of your mind. No matter how much data you put in, no matter how many good computer scientists and data specialists and telecom experts in which we may lead the world you bring in, there will never be any substitute for real doctors with real understanding of how healthcare systems work. But can a healthcare specialist suddenly come and start looking at this data and contribute? No. From education upwards, collaborations would need to be built, where people learn to speak each other's languages. People get shared experiences, shared goals. Only then will all these things happen. That, to my mind, is a true integration that India needs. Something that has common visions, common interests, synergy, public and private. Somebody wants to build these tools, somebody wants to use these tools. And of course, a true general spirit from governance downwards of how to get this together. So this integrative vision of digital health would require a very high quality data ecosystem. Interagency cooperation will become absolutely critical. All these little pieces of data lying with different agencies must come together. You would need the concept of iterative deployment and assessment, letting go of our arrogance, letting go of the idea that our very first idea or product built in the very first cycle will be perfect, continuous improvements. And we will need something that Professor Bhargav said, I'm repeating again, a complete interface of science and humanities for those who don't already consider social things to be within science. This will become even more exacerbated as you consider other trends requiring efforts. Big biomedicine, reading, writing, editing genomes, personalized medicine, regenerative medicine, brain-computer interface, modulation of behavior. All these things are even more complicated. Big biomedicine, the confluence of big data, AI, biological research, going from cells upwards, trying to understand health from the bottoms up, trying to understand the blueprint and the bricks. This is hardcore science. This will also suffer exactly the same things. Already we are getting to the point, all of you would probably agree if I said I wanted to edit the genome of a person with a mutation that was bad for him to give that person better health and cure genetic disease. But today, you can find genetic variants which are unusual but give you better health than normal. PCSK9 deletion can improve a person's cholesterol and reduce the risk of heart disease. So a person with a normal gene that the rest of humanity has could, in theory, be edited. It's already been done in monkeys for stable, better cholesterol that lasts for years and reduces the cardiovascular risks. It is better than normal health. If you were to modify different levels of the genome, you might find people who can pass on this better health to other people. You could create sections of societies that are better equipped than others. What would that mean? The questions will come like this. How will this change society? There will be a smaller question. Will it succeed technically? I assure you, given enough time, it will. But there will be a larger question. Will it let future generations flourish? Will it increase or decrease inequity? And again, science, beyond cooperation between the sciences, to make sure we technically succeed in doing this well, will need deeper examination by people and by proxy of people, by governments, by empowered citizens, by citizen scientists, people who may not have a science background but want to participate in imagining the future of humanity. Only then can you co-design sustainable futures. Only when everyone respects science, as India has been lucky to have, has less hesitation towards the fundamental power of science, but also as we, the scientists, lose arrogance about the ability that we can change, but whether we should change and how should we bring the change, then only will it all work together. And I would be remiss if I ended this talk without pointing out one thing. No matter what we talk about integrated science, high quality basic science remains absolutely critical. You cannot translate translational science. You cannot translate what you do not know. So knowledge comes first, translation comes later. If we forget that, we will be in trouble in due course of time. Team science is critical, but support for high risk, high reward endeavors, including individual efforts, is something we must remember on a day in which, held in the memory of the work of Sir C.V. Raman. That was individual science at one level. So science from every spectrum, individual level, high quality science to team science for social purposes, including the people, is critical. And that integration on today's day is what we should all strive for. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार अपने व्याख्यान से हम सबका ज्ञानवर्धन करने के लिए प्रोफेसर अनुराग अग्रवाल जी। अब मैं आदरणीय प्रवीण अरोरा जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे प्रोफेसर अनुराग अग्रवाल जी का सम्मान शील्ड के साथ करें और आप सब से तालियां निवेदित करूंगा। आदरणीय प्रोफेसर विजय राघवन जी, आपसे अनुरोध है भारत सरकार के प्रधान वैज्ञानिक सलाहकार की, आप अपने कर कमलों से इस शील्ड का भेंट करें प्रोफेसर अनुराग अग्रवाल जी को। और आप सब से तालियां निवेदित है। तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट बनी रहनी चाहिए, क्योंकि आप सबको सूचित करते हुए हर्ष की अनुभूति हो रही है कि आज राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के सब पावन अवसर पर केंद्रीय राज्य मंत्री विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी, पृथ्वी विज्ञान, पीएमओ, कार्मिक, लोक शिकायत, पेंशन, परमाणु ऊर्जा और अंतरिक्ष विभाग माननीय डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी हम सब के बीच पधार चुके हैं। आप सब से पुनः पुनः आग्रह है कि कृपया करतल ध्वनि से माननीय मंत्री जी का स्वागत करें। आज राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के अवसर पर वैज्ञानिकों, युवा अनुसंधानकर्ताओं एवं विज्ञान संचारकों को उनकी उपलब्धियों एवं सेवाओं के लिए विभिन्न पुरस्कारों से नवाजा जाएगा। इसके अतिरिक्त माननीय मंत्री जी के द्वारा इंस्पायर मोबाइल ऐप और इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम का भी लोकार्पण किया जाएगा। इस सभागार में हम सब के बीच इंटेल की डायरेक्टर एशिया पैसिफिक जापान सुश्री श्वेता खुराना जी भी उपस्थित हैं, उनके लिए भी आप सबसे तालियां चाहूँगा। और अब माननीय मंत्री जी, आपसे निवेदन है कि कृपया अपने कर कमलों से इंस्पायर मोबाइल ऐप एवं इंस्पायर मानक और इंटेल सहयोगात्मक कार्यक्रम युवा नव प्रवर्तकों के बीच AI की तैयारी का निर्माण, इन दोनों का अपने कर कमल से लोकार्पण करें। माननीय मंत्री जी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार माननीय मंत्री जी। अब समय आ गया है
With an aim to build AI awareness among youth, the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India and Intel India are launching Building AI Readiness Among Young Innovators for students enrolled under Inspire Awards Manak Scheme. The program aims to demystify AI for youth and empower them with a digital-first mindset and will be implemented in 3 phases. Top 200 students will get an opportunity to engage in deep dive AI mentoring by Intel AI for Youth coaches. and top 50 AI innovations will be awarded through a mega national showcase. Let us make our next generation AI ready.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत आभार माननीय मंत्री जी। अब समय आ गया है आज के पुरस्कार विजेताओं को सम्मानित करने का। राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के अवसर पर विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी के क्षेत्र में पिछले वर्ष के संस्थागत और व्यक्तिगत उत्कृष्ट योगदान के लिए विभिन्न पुरस्कार दिए जाते हैं, जिनमें ऑगमेंटिंग राइटिंग स्किल्स फॉर आर्टिकुलेटिंग रिसर्च यानी अवसर और 6 श्रेणियों में दिए जाने वाले विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार शामिल हैं। विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कारों के तहत साल 2021 के लिए इस बार सामान्य रूप से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के लिए तिरुवनंतपुरम के पीएन पनिकर फाउंडेशन को श्रेणी ए में राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार से नवाजा जाता है। पीएन पनिकर फाउंडेशन के लिए आप सबसे तालियां चाहूंगा। इस ऐतिहासिक क्षण को कैमरे में कैद किया जा रहा है। बहुत बहुत बधाई पीएन पनिकर फाउंडेशन को। पुस्तकों, पत्रिकाओं और प्रिंट मीडिया के माध्यम से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के लिए उड़ीसा यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के सेवानिवृत्त प्राध्यापक डॉक्टर रमेश चंद परीदा को श्रेणी बी में राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार दिया जाता है। आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं। डॉक्टर रमेश चंद्र परीदा, बहुत बहुत बधाई डॉक्टर रमेश चंद परीदा जी को। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक माध्यम से विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार के लिए कालकाजी नई दिल्ली के डॉक्टर एच.के. चोपड़ा जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई डॉक्टर एच.के. चोपड़ा। तालियों की कमी ना हो इसका निवेदन है। बच्चों में विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी लोकप्रियकरण में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के लिए गुरुग्राम की श्रीमती नरेश यादव जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई श्रीमती नरेश यादव जी। तालियों की अनुगूंज आप सबसे प्रार्थित है। बच्चों में विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी लोकप्रियकरण में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के लिए श्रेणी सी में गोवा के श्री विजय कुमार चंद्रकांत वेरेंकर जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई विजय कुमार चंद्रकांत वेरेंकर जी आपको। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नवप्रवर्तक एवं पारंपरिक प्रणालियों के माध्यम से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार के लिए श्रेणी ई में कानपुर के डॉक्टर विकास मिश्रा जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई डॉक्टर विकास मिश्रा जी। तालियों की आवृत्ति बनाए रखें, ये निवेदन है। नवप्रवर्तक एवं पारंपरिक प्रणालियों के माध्यम से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार के लिए श्रेणी ई के लिए पंजाब विश्वविद्यालय के डॉक्टर सुमन मोरे जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई डॉक्टर सुमन आपको। नवप्रवर्तक एवं पारंपरिक प्रणालियों के माध्यम से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार के लिए श्रेणी ई के लिए बनारस हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय यानी बीएचयू के डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार सिंह जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार सिंह जी। नवप्रवर्तक एवं पारंपरिक प्रणालियों के माध्यम से विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी संचार के लिए वाराणसी के नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर वॉलेंट्री इनिशिएटिव एंड कोऑपरेशन को ये पुरस्कार जाता है। बहुत बहुत बधाई इस संस्थान को, नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर वॉलेंट्री इनिशिएटिव एंड कोऑपरेशन, वाराणसी से। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक माध्यम से विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार श्रेणी एफ के लिए कश्मीर के जलाल उद्दीन बाबा, बहुत बहुत बधाई आपको जलाल उद्दीन बाबा। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक माध्यम से विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी संचार में उत्कृष्ट प्रयास के राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार श्रेणी एफ के लिए नई दिल्ली के प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर राजेंद्र कुमार धमीजा, बहुत बहुत बधाई आपको। तालियों की अनुगूंज बनाए रखें क्योंकि अगला अवार्ड अवसर अवार्ड है। अवसर अवार्ड फॉर आउटस्टैंडिंग स्टोरी पीडीएफ कैटेगरी गोज टू डॉक्टर प्रज्ञा परिमिता रथ फ्रॉम न्यू दिल्ली। प्लीज तालियों की अनुगूंज से शोभा बढ़ाते रहें। अवसर अवार्ड फर्स्ट प्राइज पीएचडी कैटेगरी goes to Mr. Ajay Chandrakant Lagashetty from Pune, Maharashtra. Avsar Award second prize PhD category goes to Mr. Anup Singh from New Delhi. बहुत बहुत बधाई, मेनी कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस मिस्टर अनूप सिंह। अवसर अवार्ड थर्ड प्राइज इन द पीएचडी कैटेगरी गोज टू मिस दीक्षा पांडे फ्रॉम न्यू दिल्ली। कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस मिस दीक्षा पांडे। आप सभी विजेताओं को अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। और एक निवेदन है सभी विजेताओं से कि कृपया मंच पर विराजमान हों और गणमान्यों और माननीय के साथ एक समवेत फोटोग्राफी करवा लें। सभी अवॉर्डी से अनुरोध है, कृपया मंच पर आएं और समवेत फोटोग्राफी की इस रीत को अंजाम दें। सभी विजेताओं के लिए तालियां तो बनती हैं। अपनी अपनी ट्रॉफी के साथ आएं तो और मज़ा रहेगा और शोभा बढ़ेगी। इस ऐतिहासिक क्षण को कैमरे में कैद करेंगे और सहेज कर रखेंगे। आप सभी महानुभावों से आग्रह है कि सबके उत्साहवर्धन के लिए तालियों की अनगूंज बनाए रखें। सभी विजेताओं को अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं। कैमरे में इस क्षण को कैद करने के लिए आप सभी का भी बहुत आभार, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। सभी गणमान्यों को अनुरोध करता हूं अपनी सीट पर विराजमान हों और विजेताओं से अनुरोध है कि अपनी अपनी सीट पर विराजमान हों। आइए अब बढ़ते हैं विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते के भव्य समापन की ओर, जहां मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा आदरणीय डॉक्टर नकुल पाराशर जी, निदेशक विज्ञान प्रसार को। वे विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते की सप्ताह भर की गतिविधियों से हम सबको अवगत कराएंगे। आदरणीय डॉक्टर नकुल पाराशर जी के लिए आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित हैं।
Namaskar, respected Dr. Jitendra Ji Singh, Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology, Minister of State for Earth Sciences, Minister of State PMO, Personal, Public Grievances, Pension, Atomic Energy and Space, Government of India. Respected Dr. K. Vigyan Sarvatra Ji, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Respected Dr. S. Chandrasekhar Ji, Secretary DST. Respected Dr. M. Ravichandran Ji, Secretary MOES. Respected Dr. Shekhar Mandey Ji, Secretary CSIR. Respected Dr. Rajesh Gokhale Ji, Secretary DBT, who just couldn't join us today. Respected Dr. Balram Bhargav Ji, Secretary DHR. And respected Dr. Anurag Ji Agrawal, who is the Director of CSIR IGIB. Ladies and gentlemen, at the very outset, my heartfelt thanks to all of you for making the event Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate a great success and helping us achieve more than what we expected. This is indeed in line with my previous stint at the US-based multinational Excella Technologies, where I worked, and always with only one motto that we had: exceeding expectations. We've tried to achieve it here as well. To celebrate the nationwide glorious iconic week of science and technology under the aegis of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, when we all met with the PSSR on January 10th to plan this week, this was where the journey began. With less than 2 months, the team at Vigyan Prasar approached organizers at 75 locations around the country. The response was overwhelmingly positive. We swung into action and conducted online meetings every day with all our 75 participating partners. This is how we began. Developing 75 products for 75 locations to keep 7 days duly occupied in a short time was indeed a challenge. I'm glad to share that we were able to pull it through successfully. We developed 75 posters from the annals of history, 75 posters about 75 milestones of the Indian SNT, 75 films, a book on 75 scientists, another book on 75 under 50, 75 lectures at 75 locations every day during the week, and thus 75 much more happened. Here is a quick sum up of the week, Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate, which, as we all know, means that science is revered all over the place in Sanskrit. In New Delhi and other 75 locations, 75 exhibitions and book fairs were planned. In Delhi, the footfall grew with every day that passed by, and ultimately we witnessed the highest footfall on Sunday yesterday. I'm glad to share that places other than Delhi saw a much bigger footfall. NIT Warangal reported more than 100 buses full of school children from all over the place. Long queues of people were reported lining in front of the lecture places in places like Purulia and Darbhanga in Bihar, Leh in Ladakh, Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu, Thrissur in Kerala, Mysuru in Karnataka, and much more. Besides successful lectures, posters, exhibits, we had organized a number of competitions through mygov.in. We have received more than 20,000 entries, and as I speak, the tough job to evaluate them and declare a winner in each category is on. We expect to announce the winners of these competitions sometime during the mid of March 2022. Today, later during the program, we will be unveiling few more pictorial books, some of which have been prepared during a very short period of 22 days. I want to profusely thank media for all over the nation to have covered this event in a very big way, as my handheld and my email inboxes are full to the brim. Here is a very short film for all of you to show the various elements of success of Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate. Thank you once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आभार आदरणीय डॉक्टर नकुल पाराशर जी। अपनी टेक्निकल टीम से मेरी गुजारिश है कि विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते कार्यक्रम पर केंद्रित एक लघु चलचित्र को प्रस्तुत करें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार उन तमाम विज्ञान प्रेमियों का जिन्होंने विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते कार्यक्रम को इस मुकाम तक पहुंचाया, सफल बनाया। अब मैं अनुरोध करूंगा भारत सरकार के प्रधान वैज्ञानिक सलाहकार आदरणीय डॉक्टर के विजय राघवन जी से कि वे विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते के भव्य समापन के अवसर पर अपने आशीर्वचनों से हम सबको कृतार्थ करें, और आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित है।
आदरणीय मंत्री जी, डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी, my colleagues on the dais, Dr. Anurag Agarwal, Dr. Balram Bhargav, Dr. Shekhar Mande, Dr. Chandrasekhar, and Dr. Ravichandran. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you at the auditorium here, particularly the awardees. Congratulations to all of them and all our fellow scientists, ladies and gentlemen. This culmination of the series of functions of Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate has been a very momentous event, and I'd like to particularly congratulate Vigyan Prasar, Dr. Nakul Parashar and his colleagues for managing this whole event very successfully. Today, the world is in a position where it needs science more than ever. And India is in a situation where, because of its strong foundations in fundamental research, in applications, and the connection between science and our people and our industry, that we are able to attend to all these challenges. Indian science has extraordinarily strong foundations, and these foundations were put in place by the development of major institutions in mathematics, chemistry, physics, engineering, biology, and medicine. Over the last few years, we have seen a substantial expansion in these foundational areas, particularly in the growth of our central universities, our Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, our Indian Institute of Technologies, or All India Institutes of Medical Research. All these places have managed to attract talented researchers and faculty members and students, and this attends to the important set of opportunities where our young demography now has. Going forward, these efforts in fundamental science research, in medicine, in clinical research, in engineering, all of that need to be integrated to attend to important global problems, and national ones too, of course. We would not have imagined that the pandemic would have taken place when it did, but our ability to respond to it proactively was because of an interdisciplinarity and a coming together of science, technology, medicine, social science, and public health. This now has to be a standard for all times to come, even as the pandemic wanes. There will be all sorts of other tensions which arise in the world. Global supply chains will be an issue, and therefore Atmanirbharta and manufacturing, which connect to deep tech, is also important. Finally, we heard an extraordinary lecture by Dr. Anurag Agarwal, which pointed out how combining digital and health and medicine in a manner which reaches the poorest of the poor and yet provides them with the best quality medicine is something which is ambitious, very difficult, but certainly feasible in our context, again because of our investments in IT, electronics, medicine, biology, chemistry, and so on. India also has now a great and important role to play in drugs as well as in vaccines. We are known as the generic drug capital of the world and the vaccine capital of the world. And this needs to expand to innovation in drug discovery and vaccines. Here, laboratories of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, our university laboratories and our industry need to work together along with those of the Indian Council for Medical Research and our medical colleges, so that both the identification of areas where drug development and vaccine development needs to take place and a proactive measure to do all this is done. Dr. Balram Bhargav alluded to our strengths in many areas of global contribution, and these range from IT to movies to cricket, and also he outlined the very many areas in science and technology where we have contributed and continue to grow. This growth now has to be combined with innovation because we live in a cyber-physical world where all the information we collect from diseases, from transport, from pollution, to air quality, all of that need to feed back into decision making so that we live and grow in a sustainable world. Thank you very, very much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार आदरणीय डॉक्टर के विजय राघवन जी। विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते के अवसर पर विज्ञान प्रसार ने 75 वैज्ञानिकों की जीवनी पर एक पुस्तक पिछले सिर्फ 22 दिनों में तैयार की है, जिसका विमोचन अब माननीय मंत्री महोदय करेंगे। इसके साथ ही DAE की एक विशेष प्रस्तुति का भी अनावरण माननीय मंत्री महोदय के कर कमलों से होने जा रहा है। मैं मंचासीन माननीय डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी से और गणमान्यों से आग्रह करूंगा कि वे इन पुस्तकों का अनावरण कर हमें कृतार्थ करें। पुस्तकों के अनावरण और लोकार्पण के लिए आप सभी का बहुत बहुत हृदय से धन्यवाद। माननीय मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी, राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान दिवस के पावन अवसर पर आपकी गरिमामयी उपस्थिति को कृतज्ञ प्रणाम करता हूं। संपूर्ण कार्य के सफल संयोजन के लिए हम सबके प्रिय माननीय मंत्री महोदय का आशीष हमारे साथ रहा है। मेरा आपसे सविनय आग्रह है कि हमें अपने आशीर्वचनों से पुनः पुनः आशीष प्रदान करें। माननीय डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी के लिए आप सबसे तालियां निवेदित करता हूं।
Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India and an eminent scientist, Dr. Vigyan Sarvatra, Secretary Science and Technology, Dr. Chandrasekhar, Secretary CSIR, Dr. Shekhar Mande, Secretary Earth Sciences, Dr. Ravi Chandran, Secretary DHR, Dr. Bhargav, Professor Anurag Agarwal, eminent members of the scientific fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I have to perform the pleasant task of congratulating all the recipients of the awards. And I'm sure when we announce that we are distributing national awards to eminent scientists, all of you would contribute in enhancing the glory of these awards through all that you have been doing in the past and also that you will continue to contribute in future. It gives me a kind of a personal gratification in the release of these books because, as Dr. Raghavan was reminding me, it was my initially suggestion that since we are observing 75 years of independence, so we should have a collection of 75 founding fathers of different streams of science in India, and 75 young scientists below 50, 75 eminent women scientists, which I am sure will come out, and also another compilation of 75 at 75, because we have a number of seniors who are active at 75, or those who have been active in the past. And though the collection that has been released today is a compilation of 75 young scientists below the age of 50, it has been occurring to my mind for the last few months that actually we have to now, since the lifespans have increased, the age of the young scientists also has to be classified into 3 categories. We have to have a category below 15, another category 15 to 35, and the third one 35 to 50. Because each day, I think, is something very amazing and sometimes very incredible, we come across youngsters in the adolescent age with a lot of innovative mind. And we have had the opportunity of referring a few of them, searching them and then referring to them. And some of them are doing very tremendously appreciable tasks, even at ISRO, working on nano satellites, and coming from towns where they didn't have any background or exposure to that kind of a work. So if we catch them young and mentor them, then the other service also is not only to the science but also to the society, because we enable them to escape from the adverse influence of their parents. Because once the child crosses 15, he is shown the road to the coaching center. And the first one to do that is the parent. So if we have a category below 15, and then try to work on it, to focus on it, I think we'll be doing a huge service not only to the nation, to the society, as well as the parents who might realize it later in life. So that was some of the ideas that came when we were contemplating how to. And of course, I have to compliment the successful culmination, ये जो श्रृंखलाबद्ध तरीके के साथ एक सप्ताह चला, विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूछते, the Vigyan Prasar and their team, and I'm sure they are there in a large number. Being a scientist, I could guess that when somebody took the name of Nukul Prashar, and there was a huge clap out of proportion to the others. So I knew the team was there. I think when Raghavan said, but anyway, that is for healthy reasons, good reasons, that you are there and you are full of enthusiasm to pat your own back, because if you don't pat your own back, who else would? बाहर तो आलोचना होगी और कोई मन चला ये भी लिख देगा कि एक सप्ताह और कोई काम नहीं किया, सिर्फ यही करते रहे. So, but I think the spirit of this 1 week of commemoration was to celebrate and to worship. और जब हम कहते हैं कि विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूछते, we don't say it for nothing, we actually mean it. And then coinciding it with 75 years of freedom itself has a significance which is not often talked about, because many of our eminent scientists like A.C. Ray have been very well noted freedom fighters as well. And at the same time, there has been another category of freedom fighters who were not scientists, but were constantly devising scientific means to supplement the freedom struggle. तो स्वतंत्रता संग्राम को बल देने का काम किया. And you will be surprised when I speak the name of the one who I think led this genre, was none less than the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. At the risk of sounding unorthodox, I would say that he institutionalized the use of biological resistance against British might. And that was Satyagraha. तो कोई हथियार नहीं उठाना, कोई वेपन नहीं उठाना, उपवास पर बैठ जाना. So it was not biological warfare that is talked about in evil terms these days. No use of the virulent weapons or means. It was simply resistance. So I think scientists' contribution in the freedom struggle and the freedom struggle through scientific means all have gone hand in hand. And it's an occasion, an opportunity for us to remind ourselves of this and also to celebrate that. अब ये जो एक सप्ताह हमने किया, इसके पीछे का मूल मंत्र क्या था? So that we also have the opportunity to introspect where we started from, where we have reached, where actually we could have reached if we were better equipped. And if we had certain disadvantages, how best to make up in the next 25 years. And I'm sure, since all of us belong to the scientific fraternity and we are tutored to be researchers, this is actually what was meant to be the subject of research over the last 1 week. And if you recall, जिनके नाम से आज C.V. रमन डे बना रहे हैं, didn't have a laboratory to do his experiment, and yet made it to a Nobel Prize at a time when Indians were hardly considered, even Asians were hardly considered for a Nobel Prize. So what a struggle would have been for him to reach where he reached. And then even soon after independence, we had Homi Bhabha. When he set up the Bhabha Atomic Center, even the flower pots were designed by him. With meager sources they started. It was not only setting up a laboratory. Or on the other side, when you have the founding fathers of the space department, whether it was Sarabhai or Satish Dhawan, there were times when the launchers were carried on the bicycle carriage. So it's been such a journey. We started off when others were well established. So now that we are better equipped, how do we make up for what we didn't have at our disposal in the bygone years? And that would help us to create a roadmap for 2047, which Prime Minister has been repeatedly reiterating as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And I think the biggest asset for the scientific fraternity of India today is to have a Prime Minister like Shri Narendra Modi. And again, I'm not saying just because I'm a part of his team, because before that, much before that, I was part of your team, still continue to be so, and a researcher. And we have learned to speak not without evidence. And the evidence is that here is the Prime Minister, if you take a chronology, a statistical, virtually every Independence Day address rolls out a scientific plan, which never happened in the earlier regimes. On one occasion, he spoke about digital health mission. On the other occasion, I think last time he spoke about hydrogen mission. In the very first Independence Day address after he took over as Prime Minister, he spoke about Swachhata, cleanliness, which has huge clinical relevance in a country like India where we didn't have toilets for girls. We were exposing them to a host of infections, beginning from urinary tract to all kinds of ascending infections. So we have a political dispensation which has the will and the understanding. And I think it's now up to us to make the best of it. And COVID gave us an opportunity to realize our inner potentials. We were taken aback, as Dr. Raghavan said, nobody could have anticipated. And the manner in which we reoriented ourselves, particularly the medical fraternity. In fact, I was saying this once at AIMS, I said, we are guilty as teachers. For the last 20, 25 years, we stopped, concentrating on infectious diseases. Because we thought we were only dealing with non-communicable diseases. Because after the advent of antibiotics and the other antimicrobials, by and large it had come under control, because the first antibiotic came in the form of penicillin around 1948-47, and the first line of tuberculosis drugs came in the early 1950s. So that era of sanatorium management, everything was over, and then we were into the era of the civilized diseases, the heart disease, diabetes, badi bhayankar naam wali. And we were focusing on that. But suddenly our residents overnight got oriented to treat, and that was the inherent legacy of science. इसीलिए science सर्वत्र पूजते, विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूजते, because it was embedded in our culture. So we were born with that kind of orientation. And of course, we had been emphasizing for quite some time, but it was not realized how to work with an integrated approach. We talked of holistic medicine as a fashionable phrase. We didn't actually practice it. COVID forced us to practice it and taught us to work together, regardless of whether we like each other or not. I may not be comfortable with Dr. Bhargav, but I have no choice. He rules out the guidelines, I have to follow. All three of us may be vying for the same post of director, not like to wish to see each other's face. But what to do? COVID brings us together on the same platform. So this has been a comradeship at professional level, at other levels, and has actually been a great training for the scientific fraternity. Biotechnology, Rajesh is not here. was not given much or its due importance, unfortunately, by the medical fraternity. Now they look up to biotechnology, the first DNA vaccine, the nasal vaccine. They have no other choice. They have to reach out to Rajesh Gokhale. So that integration has already happened. And now the challenge is to carry it forward because it is going to help us even after COVID. And with the new means, I didn't have the opportunity to listen to Dr. Anurag Agarwal, what Dr. Raghavan was referring to. But yes, we are actually heading for an era where human interface may become very negligible even in medical science. In the good old days, soon after independence, the first generation of physicians, which was represented by Dr. Chatani in North, Dr. Golwala in Bombay, they would say pulse is the most important. So from the pulse you could diagnose even typhoid from the rate of the pulse. The volume could give you something, the rhythm could. Now I am actually, for the last 5 years, conducting an experiment in my own constituency. We have arranged a digital mobile clinic. We don't have a single medico inside. We just tied up with 4 hospitals, one in Bengaluru, one in Hyderabad, one in Surat, one in Ahmedabad. And there's a group of 3 or 4, 5 boys in their mid-20s, some of them from Karnataka, some of them from Gujarat. So make the patient sit. In 20 minutes, they get the entire body profile, cardiogram, etc., everything. And in the next 10 minutes, they connect the patient to the concerned specialist in whichever hospital relevant. And I think in the times to come, even that will be over and the artificial intelligence comes in. So not only that we are moving ahead, the pace of our movement, the doubling time of the knowledge information is also increasing at a very fast pace. And this digital van which I am referring to, we moved it through about 185 villages in one district, which is one of the remotest districts where many of the people had not even seen a doctor. And therefore, we'll have to prepare. Now, like, for example, I was thinking, because this Khurafati is what I do every morning for an hour. Just as clinical exam was very important, at least in my specialty, now you will have to conduct an exam to test how best the medico could handle the technology to elicit the kind of information without maybe possibly even touching the patient. And therefore we have to, this is an opportunity, this 1 week was actually dedicated to this kind of worship. And not only that, now the science has virtually entered every sector. And since I am dealing with multiple departments, I was telling the friends in the personnel ministry, I said governance has also become technology dependent. So I gave them a new theme for the next conference, technology-based governance. With the online things happening and artificial intelligence even picking up the grievance between the lines from a representation made, and then educating the concerned bureaucrat about what it is. Yesterday, I have to compliment for the Science Expo also, which went out very successfully. I was particularly gladdened to see large number of children there. And I made a suggestion many years ago, but I was not directly connected to this. I think we'll revive this through Secretary Science and Technology. We will write to the concerned officers in the Education Department to include some of our science monumental locations in the itinerary of their school and college tours. What is happening is that in December, around the month of December every year, this country has had a tradition since independence of having school conducted tours. So when they come to Delhi, they go to Jantar Mantar, they go to Red Fort, then they go to Qutub Minar. So I was telling the other day, even if you don't guide them, they'll go. But none of them goes to the National Physical Laboratory, which is looked after by Dr. Shekhar Mandya, the oldest possible in India. which was actually born along with independence. And so also we have huge lot of monumental institutions across the country which are not visited. And the kind of enthusiasm that I witnessed in young children yesterday made me very optimistic that if we actually could show the way, they are looking for it, but they don't know where it is. So many years back in the Pragati Maidan, we set up a atomic energy segment called Hall of Nuclear Power, because I realized that space and atomic energy are the two departments which for legacy reasons are not having their headquarters in Delhi, one in Mumbai, one in Bangalore. And we again insisted, but the education institutions were not keen. But one day, many years ago, before this COVID, I went on a Sunday and I found that many children coming there. So if you have to actually search for the real talent, then you have to actually enable them to discover themselves. And these are the institutions. So I think next time when we hold an expo like this, and even otherwise, we can, this is one initiative of my mind which we could do in the ministry. And the other thing is we could also have combine this expo with B2B meetings, because we have to engage industry so that we don't lose out startups. So learning from what I saw yesterday, I think these are some of the further value additions which we could do, because as I said, if we are looking at India in 2047, we have to remember that the young or the youngster with 25 years of active service ahead, or in other words, young with 25 active years ahead, is what is going to be our investment. So they are our asset and they are our investment. So how best and optimally we can invest? Because it's very difficult to visualize 2047, because often we start looking at it through the prism of 2022, which I hope as scientists you will realize does not happen. I was telling the other day, even now we are enabled, because we have to develop indices of our 2047. I'm sure we'll take up this project also. We are talking, even when we talk of digital health, we are talking in the terms of telemedicine, artificial intelligence, not in terms of what else could be there, or maybe replacing this entire thing. And if you have to understand what I am saying is, just look back 25 years, which means look back to 1997. What was the most path-breaking innovations? One was courier service. It became so easy for us to send our slides for conferences, such a good replacement for delayed delivery of letters by postman. And now where is this? All the couriers are closed down. They are out of business. What was the other path breaking? These PVR cinemas. And where are they now? Half of them converted into malls and markets. Again out of service, out of job. And even 10 years back, you had these digital books, no longer required, because you carry the entire world's library in your pocket. So 25 years can't be visualized from the prism of today. That itself is a huge scientific challenge to develop indices relevant to 2047. And I hope some youngster or a group of them would take up that task also, which would be of benefit to all of us. Thank you very much. And once again, I would reiterate that our investment is next 25 years.
वैज्ञानिक चेतना से लैस आपके संबोधन के प्रति हम बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करते हैं माननीय मंत्री जी। धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के लिए मैं मंच पर अब आमंत्रित करूंगा श्रीमती किंकिणी दास गुप्ता मिश्रा जी को, जो विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते परियोजना की मुख्य समन्वयक रहीं और विज्ञान प्रसार में बतौर वरिष्ठ वैज्ञानिक कार्यरत हैं। आदरणीय श्रीमती किंकिणी दास गुप्ता जी।
Good afternoon. Respected Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh, esteemed dignitaries present on the dais, and all the distinguished guests present here today on this August gathering. For us Indians, what is revered is also celebrated. The reverence of science gives us reason enough to celebrate it in the form of a festival, Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate. The week-long festival under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav admired and cherished the importance of science in our lives and make people understand and realize its significance in the life of the nation and contribution of science and technology in the nation building. Today, we are ahead of many nations in science, technology, and innovation, and kept pace with the most technologically advanced nations of the world. Courtesy efforts of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, his vision and mission, his spirit to tirelessly move on against all odds is what has paid dividends to the efforts of our scientists and researchers. We express our sincere thanks to Honorable Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh, whose backing and support have helped us, been with us. And sir, we are really thankful that you have mentored and guided us in all our efforts in best possible manner. We are really grateful to Principal Scientific Advisor, Honorable Professor Vijay Raghavan, who has guided and supported us all along and have boosted our morale whenever we needed it the most. Sir, your constant support and admiration is what has kept the ball rolling and helped us organize this grand event with success. Many thanks to you. Our special thanks to Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, for his hand-holding and infallible support. Sir, your help, valuable insights, and trust that you reposed in us has kept us moving. Under your guidance and mentorship, we have achieved this feat. Thanks a lot. It would have been next to impossible for us to organize the week-long program at the pan-India level, the culmination of which we witness here on the National Science Day, without the support of DBT, DST, CSIR, MOES, ICMR, Department of Space, DRDO, Department of Atomic Energy, AICTE, UGC, and all other participating ministries and departments. We are really thankful to you. I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, DG CSIR, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary DBT, Dr. M. Ravichandran, Secretary MOES, Dr. Balram Bhargav, Secretary Department of Health and Research and DG ICMR for gracing the occasion. A word of thanks also for Secretary of Department of Space, Secretary Department of Atomic Energy, Chairman DRDO for sending their warm regards through the video messages. I thank Dr. Praveen Arora, Head and Advisor DST NCSTC for the welcome address. Our gratitude to Professor Anurag Agarwal, Director CSIR IGIB, for his excellent and insightful lecture on National Science Day. We congratulate to all the national awardees and extend our thanks for attending the program today. All the partner organizations and coordinators at 75 locations deserve a round of applause for successfully conducting this mega event and ensuring maximum participations from people. We extend our thanks to all the experts and resource persons who participate in the various activities and lecture programs at all these 75 locations and at Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, New Delhi. We are also grateful to our friends from media, print, electronic, and digital who are present here and those who helped the cause of popularization of Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate through media and media reports. Our special thanks to Dr. Parminder Maini, Dr. Preeti Bansal, Dr. Arun Bharadwaj, Dr. Shivli Mitra, Dr. Deepika Porwal from the Office of PSA for their constant support. We are grateful to our director, Dr. Nakul Parashar, who left no stone unturned to ensure the success of Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate. He worked tirelessly and inspired us all to do so. Thanks, Amteen. Not to mention a Vigyan Prasad team which did a commendable job. Each of us has put our best efforts working beyond the call of duty to make VSP a success. We hope science and technology will continue to play an indispensable and ever-increasing role in the life of every citizen and that of nation. We believe the Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate go miles in firming the roots of science and technology in the society and inculcating scientific temper among all. With our heads held high and hearts filled with pride and glory, let us stand up for the national anthem. Thank you and happy Science Day.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
आप सभी गणमान्यों और विज्ञान प्रेमियों का पुनः